Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. So a couple years ago, my son Rex bought his 2008 C6 Corvette, and I've had about a dozen or so subscribers asking me how it's been going in the last couple years. A few of them are thinking about buying a C6 and wanted some input. One subscriber specifically wanted to see how I'm liking the Kenwood head unit. So I flew back to LA about a month ago to bring his car home, and I had experienced some of the things that he was complaining about the car. One of the things is it gets really hot in the interior compartment, and his air conditioning blows ice cubes, and it still gets hot. So I had a 2007 C6. I understand what he's talking about, and I had a remedy for it. So after I got home, I dropped the torque plate and I covered the top side with Dynamat, and then on top of that I put their Dyna liner, which adds just that much more thermal and noise protection. After we got the torque plate back on, I went ahead and I wrapped the exhaust with Thermotech heat wrap. I wrapped the head pipes from the manifolds down to the cats, and then I wrapped from the cats all the way back to the radius where it goes over the control arms and out the back. And after I wrapped it, I went ahead and I used Thermotech's 2000 degree paint, which also helps protect and seal the wrap to keep it from decaying as fast. And I made sure that I wet the wrap before I put it on to give it that much more extra tightness, because it'll stretch. But be careful not to soak it. You don't want to soak it. You just want to get it wet. I ran one side of it under the faucet as fast as I could, and then wrapped it. Now the transmission tunnel is insulated on the underside, and it is insulated on the inside on the sides of the carpet. What's not insulated is the top of the console. I did a 6-part series on this car after we got it a couple of years ago, and one of the things that I did was I made a built-in Apple CarPlay mag charger into the console, the center console compartment. And one of the problems that we're having is it just gets too hot and it'll shut the phone off. And unfortunately, it was a cool idea, but it just doesn't work. And even with him leaving the console lid open sometimes, especially in the summer months, it still overheats the phone. So that was kind of a wasted effort. I thought I would salvage that, and I used the Dynamat on the inside of the transmission tunnel and on top of the transmission tunnel. The top of the transmission tunnel around the shifter and under the console is bare metal, and you can't even touch it with your hand after you run the car if the console is off. So I went ahead and Dynamated the sides of the transmission tunnel as well as the radius area where it transitions into the floor pan and the top of the console. Now that did a heck of a lot of good for the interior temperatures, but unfortunately it still gets really, really hot under that rear portion of the console lid. I'm hoping maybe in the winter months the mag charger may work with the phone without overheating it, but for right now it's pretty much useless. So that was one of the things that we did. While I was in there, another problem he had is the shift lock, the interlock for the shifter disengagement. It wasn't working. I had to take the console out anyway, so I was killing all these birds with one stone. I tested everything. The micro switch that the shifter pushes up against had a ton of resistance. I knew it was bad. I checked all the Corvette forums. I ordered the switches that they specified. It still doesn't work. I used the 12-volt battery off my Milwaukee tools, and I tested the solenoid. So the solenoid works when you put power to it. The shifter is a mechanical piece. There's not magic to it. You have a mechanical shifter, and then you have an electrical solenoid, which we know works, and the two micro switches, which one's new, and I tested the other one and it works. I still couldn't get the interlock repaired properly. One of the other things to check is the switch on the brake pedal, which works. The cruise works. It shuts off. You have brake lights, so that's not it. And I tried the relay on the passenger side compartment for the stop lamps. But again, everything checked out well. I don't know what's wrong with it. If you go to Chevy, they want to sell you a shifter for $700 or $800 and then charge you probably that much labor to put it in. Again, it's a mechanical piece. The shifter itself isn't the problem. The problem is GM doesn't service the micro switches or the solenoid, so you have to buy that whole assembly. But that's not the problem with mine, and we're not going to waste the money. So I temporarily zip tied that solenoid rod back. I didn't want to do anything permanent because the solenoid does function with 12 volts of power. So later on we're going to have to try and figure that out. So that was a bust on trying to fix that. We did do plugs and wires, so Rex has probably put 25,000 miles on this car. I've probably put 3,000 or 4,000 on it since I've had it this summer. It's got 107,000 miles on it. I drove it out here and it got 28 miles to the gallon, and it ran fairly flawlessly, but to our knowledge, we don't know if or when the plugs and wires were ever changed. And since I was doing so much work here anyway, that's a cheap and a quick, easy thing to do. So I did put new plugs and wires on it. The new plugs are iridium, they're not the double platinum anymore. I think it's the same part number with a different letter on the end. They ran about 75 bucks, I believe. But it idles smoother, it runs smoother. I didn't see an increase in mileage, but you know, it definitely can't hurt. The other thing that I noticed too when I was driving back is it rode fairly rough. Now, Rex's car is a 3LT with a Z51 package. He does not have mag ride. I believe that the shocks were changed at some point. Rex is the 4th or 5th owner of this car. I believe the shocks were changed at some point, but I went ahead and put the Bilstein set on there. You know, when Vet Brakes and Products came out 30 or so years ago, they packaged all their suspension packages tuned with Bilstein shocks. Bilstein's been a big proponent for Corvette suspensions. If you get on the forum, everybody talks about them. If you don't have the mag ride, it's the best and fairly inexpensive replacement. They're the heavy duty. I don't recall the part number offhand, but they're the heavy duty set, and that doesn't necessarily mean that it rides like crap. Their heavy duty is really kind of more like a medium. So the car rides a lot smoother. It's still as tight and it's stiff, but the compression and rebound settings are much smoother, much softer. So it still has the grip, it just doesn't knock your teeth out. While I had the console out and was doing all that work with the shifter and the insulation and everything else, we did put a Kenwood head unit in this with Apple CarPlay, and I'm telling you what, I don't care if you have an Alpine, Bose, you're driving an Aston Martin or a Ferrari. If you don't have nav, or if you have to pay for nav, that's crazy. Because if you have a smartphone, if you have an Android or a Samsung or an iPhone, and you're paying for, especially if you're paying for unlimited service, you have nav. You're already paying for it on your phone. It's Google Maps or Apple CarPlay. So we put a Kenwood head unit in here with wireless Apple CarPlay, and now we have nav. There's modules that they sell. I got everything from Critchfield. There's modules that they sell. We retain the Bose radio, the Bose amps. We retain all the steering wheel control functions. It's already tied in to the reverse wire light, so that when you put it in reverse, the rear camera comes on. So while I was doing that and I had everything apart, I put a front camera on it. So the way the Kenwood radio is set up, you put it in reverse, the rear camera comes on, you go from reverse to drive, the front camera comes on, and you can change the length of time, 10, 15, I think, or 25 seconds that it'll stay on, and then it'll revert back to your radio screen. So as far as my subscriber that was asking about the Kenwood head unit, absolutely all day long. Whether it's wired or wireless, obviously wireless is better. Sometimes, depending upon your vehicle, you may not have a choice. I believe the radio was $500. I think the Bose stereo and steering wheel control modules were like another $100 or $125. The camera was, I think, $190. You know, for $800 or $900, you know, you got a whole complete new system, and it's wonderful. Also, I noticed that his rearview mirror was glazed. It was starting to delaminate. I got on the forums and I was looking at that a lot too, because that mirror is $500. It's the OnStar mirror with all the controls and the auto dimming with the compass. and you can buy the glass separately, but the problem is these things sit out in the heat so long and bake in the sun that plastic gets brittle. So while you might be able to disassemble it and change out that glass, what normally happens are the tabs around the ball socket break off. So now you have a mirror that just won't stay set where it's supposed to. So I went ahead and just sprung for the new mirror. If you've never taken your mirror off before, it's a counterclockwise quarter turn holding the base, and it's a triangular socket with metal rods in there that clip around the anchor point on the windshield. So it's not too difficult to get off. Just make sure that you unplug it so that you don't damage your wiring harness. Other than that, I put in an improved racing oil cooler, which is a separate video that we did because it was so long. I showed a lot of the mechanical. I'm not going to bore you with a lot of the mechanical on this car on this video because it's pretty much basic stuff that anybody can do. But the oil cooler helped dramatically. This thing ran between 240 and 243 degrees oil temperature all the way back from LA. Even when the temperature went from 100 to 70 degrees at night with the sun down, it was still running around 235, which, you know, I know it's not going to kill you, but in my opinion, that's entirely too hot. That's track car temperatures. You know, you need 180 degrees oil temperature on a street car in order to be able to, you know, flog it a little bit and not hurt your engine. It needs to be 180. We got the improved racing oil cooler with 180 degree thermostat, and now with the DeWitt radiator that he put in here, even on the hottest days, 100 degrees in southern Illinois, it runs 198 coolant temperature, and it cycles between 208 and 210 on the oil temperature. Last night it was 70 degrees outside in the evening, 9 o'clock at night, sun was down, and it was running 203. So a big improvement there with the oil cooler. I was impressed with the way this car handles now. I really like driving it. I have a C7 Grand Sport, and to me they're two completely different cars. I feel a lot more at ease beating on Rex's car and getting it into turns. It just seems to me it's lighter and tighter. When I drive his and then I get into my Grand Sport, to me it feels like I'm in a boat. But he does have the Pilot Cup Sport 4S's. These are great tires. They're like glue. Obviously they're garbage in the winter or when it's cold, but he lives in LA, so he won't have any problem. So for those of you that are thinking about buying a C6, great car, great investment. He paid $20K, I think, and you know, it doesn't need paint, doesn't need a whole lot of mechanical, a little bit of suspension work, and you're good to go. One thing I wanted to point out though on the shocks, you know, this is basic hand tools that you can do for these shocks. 2 bolts on the bottom control arm and 1 on top for the front, 1 on the bottom and 2 on top for the rear. The 2 on top, there's a mounting bracket that bolts to the top of the shock, and then you install that before you put the new shock in, and then you put it in as an assembly. The factory painted a white dot on the forward-facing portion of that bracket. It's hard to see, I'll point it out in the video, but that dot is an indicator that that's the side that goes forward. I don't even know if you could put it in the other way. It probably wouldn't fit, but I'm sure that that was probably a marker on the assembly line for them to identify which is the forward portion first, so that you're not fighting it. I did invest in a lot of zip ties, and I zip tied the old shocks in the compressed position so I could get them out, and I zip tied the new ones in the compressed position so I could get them in, and I probably wasted $10 worth of zip ties, but it's better than fighting it. So nothing bad to say. Thing runs great. 100,000+ mile LS3. There's really nothing broken on the inside. The seat covers are still good. I did buy a lower driver's seat foam cushion. I'm going to replace the lower portion of the driver's seat. It's beat down, and that left bolster is just hammered, so you kind of tilt and feel like you're leaning against the door panel. I'm not going to do the whole thing because he wants to convert over to the 2012 foam and the 2012 seat covers, and that's going to be later, so we're not going to waste our money on that. But I wanted to get the new seat cushion in, so when we drive this back to LA, it'll be a lot more comfortable. It's going to be cooler inside. It's going to run smoother, and it's really just a great overall car. 3LT Z51 in the fairly rare atomic orange. Great color, especially out in the sun. I got a cloudy day today, so on the last note, if you are not aware, Corvette Fun Fest in Effingham, Illinois this year, which I live fairly close to, about an hour away, is only one day. It's Saturday, and I believe that is the 17th of September. One day only. It's free. If you've already paid, you'll be reimbursed, plus you get a $25 voucher. I will be there with Rex's Corvette. Come on out. I hope to see you there. Thanks for watching.